Welcome back to Jane's Stories of Life. This past week, there was an announcement that the Joann fabric shops, most of them, as a matter of fact, will be closing. For years, Joann Fabrics was a source that many who enjoy crafts and certainly enjoy making their own clothing and things involving fabric. Joann's was a major source for many years of those materials. So it's quite a change not to have them on the scene in the future. I started sewing when I was 10 years old. I had my friend's mother taught two of us how to sew, and I became so interested that I then went to the Singer Sewing Centers for a class during the summer for young women, young people who wanted to learn how to sew. I was so interested and did so well that my mother bought me a sewing machine. I was a chubby child, and I couldn't always find clothes that were kind of the things that my friends are wearing. But if I could sew, I could make things that were comparable. And so that was really one of my incentives for learning how to sew. By the time I got to junior high, at that time, all girls in junior high, I believe, had to take home ec, and the young men took shop. Well, the first project was sewing an apron, only we did it by hand, and a teacher measured our basting stitches. And if our basting stitches weren't exactly a half an inch and a quarter of an inch apart, or whatever her measurements were, she made you take those stitches out and do them again. Needless to say, by then I was already making garments. I was very not happy with having to do that. We finally, after our apron, were able to use a sewing machine. Now, the sewing machines at school were the ones with the tread wheel. You had to use your feet to pedal or something. The machine that I had was a little electric one. There was some difference. Anyway, making whatever we were doing at school, I forgot the difference in what we were doing and didn't change my method for that machine. And lo and behold, the needle hit my fingernail, and went through the fingernail and through a little bit of my flesh because I did not make the proper adjustment for that machine. I was not very happy with that. Later on, as I said, I continued to sew. I remember one time when the first year I was teaching in Cleveland, one Sunday I didn't feel like doing laundry for the week. So instead I made myself 2 new dresses so that I'd have something new and different to wear on Monday and Tuesday of that week, and then I could do the rest of the laundry and get through the week. But I decided rather make something to wear than to do my laundry. So that's what I did. When our children were young, I used to make cute little outfits. They were 13 months apart. And even though, I would make a little dress for Cindy and make little coveralls or something that matched in fabric for John. So I did those for a couple of years. Later on, a fabric company came into being, Stretch and Sew Fabric, which focused on knits, polyesters, items that were all color coordinated. Their stores, as a requirement, everyone who worked in their stores, it was the franchise operation. Everyone who worked there had to wear clothing that they had made using the Stretch and Sew methods, the Stretch and Sew fabrics. And so it was an interesting place. They ran classes, and you had a master pattern, but you really used that master to make your own pattern to fit your body exactly. And for several years, oh my goodness, I made all kinds of jogging suits and t-shirts and all kinds of garments, including 2 pairs of trousers for Morgan, dress pants. When he took them to a cleaner's to have them hemmed and pressed, and told the lady at the cleaners that his wife had made these trousers, she was very impressed. They also had tailoring services in that particular cleaner, so she was very impressed that I had done that. Eventually, knits and polyesters fell into disfavor in place of natural fabrics. People wanted things that breathed and were cooler. And so Stretch and Sew, eventually I went out of business. But that was probably, I loved using their things. At some points you used to go, if you used more traditional things like they had at Joann's, they used to have these big books with all the patterns and styles. If you were lucky, when they discontinued those books, you could buy those huge books for $1. And you could spend hours going through, looking at different patterns. When you found something you wanted in one of those stores that carried those, they had drawers. You opened the drawer and you looked through the pattern number and you found the pattern and your exact size. And it suggested fabrics that you could use. I mean, sewing used to be fun, and many people were seamstresses and made their own garments. That's changed dramatically, apparently. I lost interest once Stretch and Sew went out of business, but sewing is something that I'm sorry that it's kind of fallen out of fashion, so to speak, no pun intended, because it allowed for a great deal of creativity. In some communities, the 4-H clubs were popular, and in the 4-H clubs, many young people learned how to sew. And, you know, fashion goes on. There's still certainly fabric and garments and things that are constantly being created. But I'm afraid that for the average person, not many people are still home seamstresses and home tailors and things like that. But just seeing that Joann was going out of business this week just kind of made many of us say, oh, wow, that was an institution, sewing and Joann. So it's just sewing in general. Just memories. Once again, I cherish those memories. Cherish your memories and pass them on. Take care. Hi, this is a quick addition to the video I just made. I remember now the incident when I ran the needle through my fingernail. The machine I had at home had a electric foot control. The machine at school you controlled everything by pressing something with your knee on the side of the table. And so whatever, I guess when I was sewing, my knee stayed in place. I lifted my toe thinking I was controlling the needle, but instead I should have been moving my knee away from that control. The other part that I thought of was that those of us who were involved in sewing always had a stash. I mean, we had fabric and patterns stashed away, so at any given time, you felt like sewing, you had a project just waiting, because we were compulsive fabric and pattern shoppers. Okay, that's it. Cherish your memories and pass them on. Sometimes the memories are a little slow getting put back together in this old mind. Bye.